The Top Boy Season 3 trailer has just been released, and it's safe to say that it looks like it's going to be a gripping and explosive final chapter. With Dushane and Sully's friendship looking like it's going to be tested in more than one way, most probably due to the actions of Sully, the stakes are most definitely going to be high. Within the trailer, there was one moment that caught me off guard, and something that I don't think many people expected to see. And that was Ronell in the opening section. It got me thinking, is he going to return? What are the chances of it? And how could it be possible? So let's jump into it. Here is Will Ronell return in Top Boy Season 3. Just to let you know, this video will contain spoilers from the previous seasons. With it being the final season of Top Boy, I think it's safe to say that anything could quite literally happen. I imagine there's nothing off limit, as they're most probably set to make sure that this season goes down as the best that's been created amongst what's going to be all 5. One character that hasn't returned to the show since the Summerhouse series first aired and when the show was initially cancelled is Ronell. Ronell was one of the main characters in the show, and he acted as a way of allowing us to see how a child could get caught up in the life of Dushane and the Summerhouse crew, despite his mother not wanting him to, something which led to the death of somebody who he looked up to at the hands of Sully, Leon. This is where I feel we could see him return if they do decide to bring the character back. The last time that we saw Ronell, he was walking off with his mother as she shut down the hair salon as his good friend Gem had decided to move away to Ramsgate following all of the trouble that he got himself into with Vincent. This had a knock-on effect on Ronell as he went to Vincent and tried to scare him, but it ultimately ended up with Ronell getting hurt, which his mother later found out about. With them walking off at the end, it was clear to see that Ronell's mother wanted a better life for him. One where he wasn't going to be put in danger constantly, and one where he could be off the streets. In the final episode of Season 2, he was getting ready for football trials, as that was starting to be implemented and the change in his life was something that he was fighting for, as he wanted a better life for himself and his mother, and he didn't want to be involved in anything that Gem was doing. So, would it be possible for Ronell to return in Season 3? Well, in the trailer, there was a brief moment where we saw that there was a shot of Chantel, Ronell, and Kayla in the opening part of it. Whilst it could be interpreted just as a way of reflecting on Dushane's life and the impact that he had on people that had come to Summerhouse and were connected to the crew, I'd like to think of it as though there's a possibility that he could return in this upcoming season. After all, Gem did return in the most recent season of the show, albeit in a much smaller capacity, but it showed that even after moving to Ramsgate following the trouble that he was in several years ago, there was still a way to find a route to get him back into the show. So anything is possible, and the door is definitely not shut for Ronell, especially because he's still alive. How could Ronell return? Well, by now, Ronell would probably be in his early to mid-20s and have a life that he'd either be content with or disappointed with. We haven't heard of what the character had been up to since he left, so one would assume that he moved away from Summerhouse, especially considering he hadn't been in either of the Netflix seasons, and so much has gone on within them, where you would have expected him to appear if he still lived there. If we look at what it feels like the entirety of the new season of Top Boy is going to be about, it very much feels as though it's going to be about the demise of Sully and him facing the consequences to all of his actions from over the years. This is where I feel as though Ronell could tie into it. The main threat that Sully will be facing without even realizing will probably be from Dushane. But what if now that Ronell is old enough to fend for himself, rather than being the schoolboy like he was, what if he looks to seek revenge on Sully because he killed Leon in a brutal fashion all of those years ago in broad daylight? Sully never liked Ronell. He never trusted him and he robbed him, rendering him into a vulnerable state all of those years ago. However now, where it feels as though Sully could be the weakest one of them all, Ronell might come back and look to get that sweet revenge on Sully for the murder of his father figure in the first season of the show. Especially if Ronell went down a path that meant that he didn't have stability and was on the streets in a different area. Another way in which we could see Ronell return could be in a small cameo role. I'd prefer it if it wasn't in the capacity like how Gem returned, but if it was, I'd still take it because it would be better than nothing. Maybe Ronell could be looking to help, improve, and guide the lives of the people that are in the area due to the past experiences that he had, teaching them to look out for the signs and finding alternative ways of finding purpose, maybe through sport, like he did, almost like how Leon was to him but for many other kids in the area. These are just a couple of different options as to how the character could return in the future. Whilst there's nothing set in stone right now and the only inclination that it could be possible is due to the small feature in the trailer, It's something that I feel would be great if the show decided to do. What have the creators said? Ashley Walters has said in the past that he'd wanted to revisit Ronell's story and character arc when Netflix revived the show a few years ago, but the actor who played the character Michael had other things that he wanted to pursue outside of acting. It's rumoured that he actually stepped away from acting after finishing the role of Ronell, so it made it difficult for the character to return when Netflix picked up the show. Last year, Ashley Walters said that he hadn't spoken to Michael in some time, but the last he heard from him, the fact that he was still pursuing other endeavours outside of acting, it meant that it would have made his return something extremely difficult to carry out. However, with it being the final season of the show, things could be different, and Michael may want to get involved with the reprisal of the character, especially considering that his character was so integral to the first couple of seasons, and one that kick-started the entirety of the show, so it would be rather poetic for his character to feature in the final season of it too, showing the journey of a character like his. It's safe to say that as of now, it's very much up in the air if Ronell is going to be returning. I'd love to think that the character would make an appearance in this final season, as I would also like to think that Chantel and Kayla would too, seeing as though they got features in the trailer as well. One thing that Top Boy has been great at over the years is getting the same cast members who played the roles in the Summerhouse series to reprise them in the Netflix series as well, something which added to the smooth fluidity of the transition between the time periods, despite the fact that there were several years between them. So with that being a trait that the show had adopted from an early part of its creation, I'd like to think that it could well open up the possibility for Ronell to return. If the character does return and feature in this new season, I imagine it will be kept quiet, so it will add to the shocking nature of the reveal if it did arrive. For now, I guess we'll just have to wait until September the 7th to see if we'll get the moment that we're waiting and hoping for. So, there you have it. Will Ronell return in Top Boy Season 3? If you want to see more videos such as endings explained, theories and predictions, and character breakdowns, then click on the I button, or alternatively you can head over to my channel where you'll find them all. If you'd like to give me a show or movie that you'd like me to review, then head over to my Twitter, or X, @brainpilot_, and tweet me what show or movie you'd like me to review next. And finally, if you'd like to see what I rate the latest movies that don't quite make the cut to getting a dedicated video, then head over to my Letterboxd profile. It's where I rate the latest releases in real time. Do you think Ronell will return? Leave a comment down below, and don't forget to subscribe. I'll see you next time.